When a hard year stretches into a hard decade, the people still eating are not the ones who planted tomatoes and beans every spring like a hobby. They are the ones who planted perennials, crops that come back on their own, year after year with almost no work from you. No replanting. No buying seed packets every season. No standing in a depleted garden bed wondering what to grow when the shelves are empty. Most survival gardeners are still stuck in an annual mindset, restarting from scratch every spring. That is a mistake. Today we are covering 10 perennial crops that you plant once and that will keep producing food for 20, 50, even 100 years. Stick around, because if your region falls outside zones 3 through 7, the very last section of this video matters most to you. Before we get into the list, a quick and important clarification, because the original version of this list that circulates online claims zones 3 through 7 cover most of North America. That is not accurate. Those zones cover the colder half of the country, the upper Midwest, the Northeast, and Canada. If you live across the South, the Southwest, Texas, Florida, California, or anywhere warmer, you are likely in zone 8, 9, or 10, and several of these crops will behave differently for you. We will flag that as we go, and we will give you the real picture, not an inflated one. Number 10 is the Siberian pea shrub, a nitrogen-fixing survival hedge. Most people have never heard of Carigana arborescens, but in Siberia, Mongolia, and northern Canada, this shrub has fed people and livestock through brutal winters. It is a legume, which means it pulls nitrogen from the air and deposits it into the soil through its roots, improving everything planted nearby. It grows 8 to 12 feet tall, tolerates temperatures down to negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and survives drought and neglect. Planted once as a hedge or windbreak, and it produces edible, pea-like seeds for 50 years or more. The seeds taste mildly nutty, similar to lentils, and can be cooked like any dried legume or ground into flour. Young shoots are edible in spring, and chickens, goats, and rabbits will browse the foliage. One caution worth knowing, this plant can become invasive in some regions, so check your local extension office before planting it as a hedge. Number 9 is sea kale, a coastal European plant nearly unknown in North America that gives you 3 vegetables from one perennial. In early spring, the young shoots taste like asparagus. As the plant matures, the leaves taste like cabbage. In late spring, the flower buds taste like broccoli. One plant, 3 harvests, returning for 10 to 15 years. Sea kale is hardy to zone 4, tolerates poor sandy soil, and actually performs worse in rich soil or with overwatering. It wants a sunny, slightly neglected spot. Start from root cuttings or crowns. Let the plant establish fully in year 1 without harvesting. Then harvest shoots from year 2 onward. Number 8 is the Jerusalem artichoke, also called sunchoke, a perennial tuber crop that behaves like a potato without the yearly digging and replanting. One tuber planted in spring multiplies into a cluster of new tubers by fall, and those tubers can be left in the ground through winter and dug up fresh as needed, even through snow. Sunchokes are native to North America, so they are well adapted, tolerating poor soil, drought, and shade. The tubers taste nutty and slightly sweet, similar to a water chestnut crossed with a potato, and they are high in inulin, a prebiotic fiber that benefits gut health, but can cause gas if you eat a large amount before your body adjusts. The real challenge with sunchokes is not getting them to grow, it is containing them, since they spread aggressively and can take over a garden bed if left unchecked. Number 7 is asparagus, a spring crop that produces for 15 to 25 years once established. Asparagus emerges in early spring, often before the last frost, delivering the first fresh vegetable of the season, packed with vitamins A, C, K, and folate. A bed measuring 10 feet by 4 feet can produce a meaningful harvest across 6 to 8 weeks of daily picking each spring. The trade-off is patience. Asparagus needs 2 to 3 years to establish before you harvest at all. Once mature though, it requires almost no ongoing work beyond annual mulching. If this kind of practical, plant-at-once knowledge is useful to you, subscribe to this channel right now and hit the bell. Every week, we bring back the kind of self-sufficiency knowledge that used to be common sense and has quietly disappeared. Subscribe so you have it before you need it. Number 6 is rhubarb, a cold hardy perennial that gives you both food and free mulch. Rhubarb is hardy to zone 3, tolerates poor soil, and once established produces stalks every year for 2 decades or more. The stalks are good sources of vitamin K, calcium, and antioxidants, and they freeze, can, or dry well for storage. One detail people miss: the giant leaves are not edible. They contain oxalic acid, but they make excellent biodegradable mulch. Lay them around other plants and they break down quickly, suppressing weeds and feeding your soil. Plant crowns in early spring, mulch, and largely leave the plant alone. Begin harvesting in year 2 by twisting stalks off at the base, never cutting with a knife, and only take about a third of the stalks at any one time. Number 5 is chives, a small perennial allium with an outsized impact on a survival diet. When your food options narrow down to the same starches repeated daily, flavor stops being a luxury and starts affecting whether you actually eat enough. Chives add onion-like flavor to bland staples and contain sulfur compounds with mild immune-supporting properties. They are hardy to zone 3, tolerate poor soil, and spread into a permanent productive clump. Harvest by snipping leaves with scissors rather than pulling, and they regrow within weeks. Number 4 is perennial kale, sometimes sold as tree collards, a woody shrub-like plant that produces edible leaves across most of the year, rather than bolting after one season, like annual kale. It grows from cuttings rather than seed and roots easily. Tree collards are generally hardy to zone 7 or 8, and some varieties tolerate slightly colder conditions. So gardeners in milder, warmer climates will actually find this one of the easier crops on the list to keep alive year-round, while colder zone growers may need to treat it as a long-lived annual or bring cuttings indoors over winter. Number 3 is Good King Henry, a European perennial green that has fed people since medieval times and solves a problem every spinach grower knows well. Annual spinach bolts and goes to seed the moment the weather warms, giving you 4 to 6 weeks of harvest before it is finished. Good King Henry produces edible leaves from early spring through late fall without bolting, giving you roughly 6 months of continuous harvest from a single planting. It is hardy to zone 3, tolerates partial shade and poor soil, and is genuinely low maintenance once established. Number 2 is the Egyptian walking onion, one of the strangest and most self-sufficient crops you can grow. Instead of producing seeds, it grows a cluster of small bulblets at the top of its stalk. As those bulblets mature and grow heavy, the stalk bends to the ground, the bulblets root where they land, and new plants establish themselves. The plant quite literally walks across your garden bed over time. It is hardy to zone 3, tolerates poor soil and neglect, and gives you both edible scallion-like greens and harvestable bulblets that can be used like shallots. Number 1 is the American groundnut, a native North American perennial vine that almost nobody grows, despite being one of the most nutritionally significant native food plants on this continent. Its tubers contain roughly 17% crude protein by dry weight, which is genuinely about 3 times the protein content of a potato, confirmed by multiple botanical references. That makes it a legitimate protein source from a root crop, which is rare. The plant is also a nitrogen-fixing legume, meaning it improves your soil while it grows. It is hardy to zone 3, prefers moist soil near streams or low-lying areas, and needs a trellis or fence to climb. One honest note on yield, groundnut is not an instant-heavy producer. Research documented yields run up to about 2 kilograms, roughly 4 to 5 pounds, of tubers per plant once a vine is well established, typically after its second or third year, not in its first season. Patience here pays off, but temper your expectations for year 1. That is all 10. Planted once, these crops give you food security that does not depend on seed catalogs, fertilizer shipments, or any supply chain functioning correctly. The catch, and it is worth saying plainly, is that perennials take real time to establish. Several of these need 2 to 3 years before they reach meaningful production. The right time to plant most of these is well before you think you will need them, while crowns, cuttings, and tubers are still easy to find, and your soil has time to mature alongside the plants. 10 crops, planted once, feeding you for decades. No yearly replanting, no dependency on what is left on a shelf. The next video is already up. Go watch it now.